as Songwoo and his minions descend down the stairs. He meets an unexpected person. ManHWA encountering face to face with Songwoo goblin skeletons. ManHWA lets out a terrifying scream and ends up stabbing Songwoo's skeleton. ManHWA is in tears from the shock of Songwoo skeletons and is shaken up by the rapid change of events that's happening in this world. He asks Songwoo what are these skeletons by him. Songwoo responds back suggesting that they are his minions that help him fight. Songwoo then asks ManHWA did he select a card from earlier the events. ManHWA then remembers that he has chosen a thief class as his selection. Songwoo is disappointed in his decision and then asks what rank was the card he selected. ManHWA responds back with a cheerful expression that it's a 1-star card, thinking that it represents the symbol of being a brigadier general. Songwoo couldn't believe his friend chose a 1-star card and decided not to tell him that it's one of the worst possible choices. He then tells ManHWA to come with him to someplace safe. As they were walking together, a message board shows up telling the group that they have triggered synergy through teamwork. Synergy condition is met when a party of 5 players all have equipped daggers. This effect gives the players a bonus 10% crit rate and also obtain 10% additional gold for loot. ManHWA, surprised by this message, asks Songwoo if he is seeing the same thing. Songwoo responds back saying yes, he sees it as well. He notices that when working together as a group, you're able to receive more benefits, and it also implies to non-human players as well. He starts feeling fortunate that he chose the job skill Necromancer as his choice. When working alone, he can still provide the same effects rather than working with multiple people. As they continue to walk down the stairs, Songwoo and ManHWA encounter a group of goblins being led by a goblin chief. Soon a message board shows up telling Songwoo and ManHWA that the horde of goblins have been weakened by the smell of death, and that their overall stats has dropped 30% from the encounter. The skill manifests when there are 4 or more skeletons of the same race grouped together. The goblins are showing fear of Songwoo's skeletons and hesitate on attacking. Songwoo smiles at the circumstances and sends his goblin skeletons to attack the horde of goblins. The goblins attempt to flee and a mass fight breaks out in the hallway. The skeletons are relentless on the attack and is massacring the goblin horde. ManHWA cheers at Songwoo, telling him his minions are amazing. The goblin chief is getting angry as he watches his underlings get slaughtered by the skeletons. Instantly the goblin chieftain activates a bracelet on his arm. Wild Madness. This item gave the goblins an enraged buff and started to drive Songwoo's skeletons back, instead of running. Songwoo starts analyzing this situation carefully. From the actions that has taken place, Songwoo knows that his skeletons can respond to any of his commands. He wonders how can use this to his advantage. Songwoo decides to take action by controlling one of his minions. At the right moment he commanded his skeleton to leap past the horde of skeletons and to target the goblin chief. With his eyes set on him, the goblin skeleton makes a full dive at the chief, severing his arm and causing massive blood loss to him. The chief bellows out in pain and kicks the skeleton away. The goblin snaps out of their enraged buff, and now starts to panic of the overwhelming disadvantage against Songwoo minions. The goblin horde is getting massacred by Songwoo minions and he starts receiving 10 gold for each kill. The goblin chief is enraged and starts attacking Songwoo minions. With the advantage in numbers, Songwoo minions make quick work of the goblin chief. Songwoo received 50 gold from hunting the goblin chief. As ManHWA and Songwoo approach the body of the goblin chief, ManHWA points out the items dropped by the chief that is lying on the ground. Songwoo picks up the items and has acquired an ordinary rough spear and a rare bracelet. Essence of the Wild. This items increases the attack speed of all small build NPCs by 20%. Songwoo is pleased over the new items. He rubs the head of the one-armed goblin that's been with him from the start. He congratulates the skeleton, well done. The skeleton is happy and starts making quirky noises with his bones. ManHWA and ManHWA get freaked out and tell the skeleton to please stop. Soon ManHWA asks where is our next destination. ManHWA responds back saying it's best to get out of here first before we think of the next spot. There's a crowd located at the main corridor of the building. Students gathered up in groups and individuals, personnels with job classes guarding the main door from entering or leaving. Before heading the group, ManHWA decides to move his skeletons into the copier room so they wouldn't frighten the students. As ManHWA and ManHWA approach the group, they hear a student trying to calm down the commotion. Jensuk, a student council member that cares only about hierarchy and ranking. He's one of those bossy individuals that likes to take control of the situation and a major flirt that hits on girls constantly. As ManHWA and ManHWA approach the door, they hear a shout towards them. Jensuk in panic yells at both of them to not touch the door. It is dangerous to go outside. Jensuk then apologizes for being hasty and only says that he's trying to protect the students. And that they don't know what's happening in the city. They both believe following the orders of this guy isn't going to go smoothly. Jensuk then asks ManHWA if he selected a card. ManHWA responds yes. Him and ManHWA have chosen job classes. Jensuk then says that this situation is serious and the ones with weapons should help out their ordinary classmates. He then gets sarcastic with ManHWA from indication of his spear, implying that he's a spearman and can he be any help to them. He brags to them saying he defeated a green monster and it was called a goblin. It's one of the harder creatures to deal with, but thanks to his shield he was able to defeat it. Jensuk then brags that he's a rank 2 shield warrior and is pretty grateful he chose this job. He tells them if the situation gets dangerous, just take cover behind him and he can handle it with no problem. ManHWA comes running to the group, informing Jensuk that he hears faint sounds of goblins coming from up the stairs. Jensuk tells everyone to remain calm and to hide themselves inside the cafe. While everyone was focused on the incoming goblins, ManHWA tells ManHWA to come here for a moment. He shows ManHWA the door, asking if he sees it too. ManHWA agreed he does. A message appeared telling them that a powerful spell has sealed the door and that they must defeat the boss in order for it to open. There was also a timer with the message. In case if the boss is not being defeated within the set time, the monsters in the building will grow stronger for the players. ManHWA tries to make the door open, but it won't even budge. ManHWA tells ManHWA that he's unsure of the message meaning of monsters becoming stronger. But they can't remain complacent and expect any help coming from the outside. He only knows for surety that they must defeat the monster in order to get out of this place. Breaking the moment, Jensuk makes a call to ManHWA asking if him and ManHWA know each other. Soon Jensuk attempts to rally the individuals with job classes and to have them make a withstand at the door. ManHWA gets irritated by this and asks if he saw the message on the door. Jensuk replies yes, he saw it and that they must wait until the rescue team arrives. ManHWA gets more irritated and expressed that this event is happening around the country and the police wouldn't have time coming to this place. Jensuk asks if ManHWA served the army and that he should know about the might of the Korean army. He further on explains the army will save us and sort everything out. ManHWA, having enough from hearing Jensuk, decides to head the stairwell. Jensuk then gives his opinion that they will die if they just leave and that they're making a big mistake. Suddenly ManHWA lets out a yelp saying goblins. The goblins are here. As the horde of goblins head down the stairs, the students in the cafe yell in terror. Jensuk orders the people with weapons to block off the entrance of the cafe. One of the students yells out that they're even coming from the other side of the building. A group of skeletons standing in the hallway ready to strike. Jensuk in panic curses, "What is that?" ManHWA interrupts them saying don't worry, they're not a part of the goblins attacking them. ManHWA tells Jensuk that he respects his sense of duty, but following a fool with leader's armband is going to get everybody killed. Jensuk then yells back, "What are you? What on earth is your job?" ManHWA responds back saying something good. Suddenly the smell of death has been activated in the area. All enemy goblin abilities have been reduced by 30%. The goblins, feeling the wave of death, become immobilized with fear over the undead skeletons. The goblin starts running away over what's soon to happen next. ManHWA gets amped and tells his skeleton goblins to begin the hunt. Jensuk and the college students watch in awe and terror of ManHWA's skeletons fighting the goblins. The skeletons are driving the goblins back, and ManHWA is also pitching in to help, as two of the skeletons were in a standstill with the other two goblins. ManHWA does a quick attack from behind, finishing the goblins. Jensuk, which was planning on escaping alone after seeing the situation, starts to wonder how is ManHWA killing the goblins with just a spear. Two of the goblins try to escape. ManHWA orders his minions to block off the escaping goblins. He's thinking, good. This is working. He's trying to show to himself and his classmates that he is somebody that can handle the situation. This way, when the time comes, he can convince the people to help him attack the boss of this building. Realizing this from the game rules, this is the safest way. With his synergy dagger buff and his rare attain bracelet, he knows dealing with the goblins will be a piece of cake. But there may be more powerful monsters he might encounter. Some of the students start wondering who ManHWA is and what major he is in. The last goblin makes a last-ditch effort and tries to escape. ManHWA instantly throws his dagger and it pierces the back of the goblin. The classmates cheer at ManHWA's victory. Some were saying that he was unstoppable, while others were just glad he was around. He searches the bodies of the goblins and sees there were no items this time that were dropped. A message board appears before him. The messages says he won a roulette ticket for being the 34th player in history to kill 20 monsters out of 100 players. ManHWA questions this roulette ticket and wonders where would he have to go for payout, since he doesn't have anywhere in his inventory. He looks at his approaching goblins and praises them, saying they did well. All four started making the quirky noises with their bones in appreciation of the master thanks. ManHWA and ManHWA instantly gets freaked out, telling them to not do that. ManHWA then goes back to the rest of the group. With a smart remark, he gives Jensuk a grin, saying, "He was some help, right?" Jensuk only looks at him with anger and embarrassment over his own remarks. Moments later, the students gather in the cafe for a held joint meeting. ManHWA, leading it, asks all the students if they saw the message on the door, and that it won't open until they defeat the boss monster. He then urges his peers that they must find the boss monster within the 2-hour limit. If we fail to do so, the monsters in the building will get stronger. The students get quiet from ManHWA comments, and one student speaks up, saying that he knows where the boss monster is. He then goes on telling that the boss monster is on top of the roof and his professor and classmates were all killed by the monster. ManHWA then knows his next destination is the roof. Some of the players and even ManHWA are unsure about this situation. Even if all of our combined forces, do we even have the strength to defeat the boss? ManHWA then implies that he will stay down here with the group in a laughing manner. ManHWA responds back with the same expression, "No, you have to stay with me in order to buff my skeletons." ManHWA then pleads with ManHWA, telling him he can have his dagger, while ManHWA denies his request. As both continue to bicker amongst each other, they hear a voice from behind. Jisoo, a 23-year female college student who is a 3-star card tiger hunter, chosen as her job. She says it might be a nuisance if they go through the hallways with a big crowd. And also, we shouldn't need a lot of people since we have your skeletons as well. He then looks back at the others with a glare, saying there's no need to take the others if they aren't as good as the skeletons. ManHWA takes her suggestions with thoughts, but it's still good to have strength in numbers since we don't know how strong the boss monster is. ManHWA proceeds to ask Jensuk to join them as well. Jensuk makes an excuse, saying that he's going to stay here and help guard the students. ManHWA couldn't believe the cowardice of Jensuk and tells him fine, just stay there and be alert. ManHWA, Jisoo, ManHWA, and ManHWA skeletons start their journey up the stairs to the rooftop. While they were heading up the stairs, ManHWA told ManHWA to stay alert at any given moment. As he was saying this, a surprise attack was sprung to the group. 2 goblins rushed behind them with a surprise attack while a goblin horde was at the top of stairs awaiting the group. ManHWA orders ManHWA and Jisoo to handle the back. But before he can get the words out, Jisoo leaps into action, severing the head of the first goblin while the other goblin couldn't believe on her swift agility. She counteracted with a lunging thrust, piercing the goblin chest and defeating it instantly. ManHWA stands in amazement at Jisoo's quick actions. ManHWA turns around to ManHWA telling him that she's awesome. But only to see all the goblins on top of the stairs were defeated just as quickly as Jisoo did. As the group continue their march up the stair, they encounter Professor Huang. Professor Huang is in terrible condition and is going on his last breaths. ManHWA asks the professor what happened. The professor breaks out in tears that all the students died because of him. He was trying to find a way to lead his students away from the chaos and decided to head to the roof by following the faculty and staff safety protocol. Professor stated that he urged his students to head with him, only while ManHWA only listen in horror on what they might have encountered. That's when they encounter the boss monster. Professor Huang pleads with ManHWA to not go to the roof. With his last breath he mumbles, "At least you should live." With that the professor passes away. A message board appears before ManHWA. ManHWA has activated the quest Avenge the Dead, a private quest given exclusively to ManHWA. He has 2 options: save or neglect the dead. The system tells him he's the one that holds the reins of death. He can appease the system by avenging the death, therefore defeating the boss monster. Or he can just simply ignore the request and attack an ordinary person. His fate is decided on what option he chooses. ManHWA rereads the message and instantly gets triggered. He couldn't believe the system quests and the conditions that were made for it. He tells himself that they must go through it and that the system is screwing with them. ManHWA asks if they really have to go. ManHWA only continues marching up the stairs and finally reaches the rooftop. Thank you for watching part 2. Feel free to subscribe to get more updates on new episodes. Please type Necro in the comments for more episodes.